Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On the 27th of May on the News Hour, we revealed about the mystery girlfriend of fugitive Mehul Choksi. First time in the history of Indian television. Barbara Jarabica was a name that we revealed to you, dear viewers, on the 27th of May. We exposed all the intricate details of how Choksi and Barbara Jarabica had met, where they went and how she was in touch with the fugitive for the past 1 year. In fact, today Barbara Jabarica, actually the missing piece in the Choksi puzzle, spoke with Times Now. She confirmed it in her own words, and in an exclusive 40-minute interview, Barbara countered each and every lie peddled by Team Choksi. She revealed how Choksi had promised to take her to Cuba in a yacht, thereby demolishing Choksi's abduction theory. Barbara believes that Choksi, who's facing charges of illegally entering Dominica, wanted to make her an alibi so that he could escape to Cuba. Listen in to this exclusive interview with Barbara Jarabica, who holds keys to all the lies peddled by Mehul Choksi and who seems to be the missing link and blows holes into the theory of abduction by Mehul Choksi.
Since day one, I met him last year, August. He introduced himself as Raj, and also, people in the restaurant, wherever we went, everyone welcomed him and said hi, called him as Raj. So this is how I knew him. He had a few different numbers on WhatsApp. So I always saved it, as Raj, and so on. But he also often texted me on Signal. That one was normally like US numbers. The WhatsApp was normally UK numbers. No, it wasn't. No way. It wasn't beyond the friendship. So as you might heard in my other already my other interview as well. So we were friends, and also he offered me some business opportunities. At the beginning, first he offered some opportunities to do with jewelry, and told me that that's what is that he said he retired and then he can help making money with jewelry. I told him that I'm not interested and that's not my background. So then after that, we started to, he started to propose me different business opportunities with properties. And he said that he's very well connected and helped me funding and investing. Well, he gave me a bracelet in April, and he gave me a ring in May, and he said that it's a diamond. Well, I wasn't too surprised anymore after all these lies, and he didn't even presented himself. I always thought that he is a good friend for 1 year, and it turns out that he is a totally different person, what I knew. So I am not surprised at all. I just, but answering your question, I took it to a shop and they told me that it is the ring is not diamond. First of all, regarding the choice of the Airbnb, the choice of the accommodation, he offered me, you probably saw on those messages as well, he offered me to book my flight ticket or book my hotel, which I never expected because which I never accepted because I thought, I can pay myself, and also I didn't want him to misunderstand our friendship, and I didn't want to accept any of these payments or booking for him. And actually, the funny thing that when we met first in August, he said that he lived in Dubai, and we were, I was asking like, are you from Middle East? And he said yes. So he didn't even say originally he was from India. Later, I think in April, and of course, like you could see the look as well. And he said he's from India, but he never told anything about his background or his real name. He said that he retired, and he said he had big businesses and he sold his businesses and retired. And he said that now he's into property and lands and hospitality, like he wants to do boutique hotel and he has a restaurant. Apparently he got missing on the 23rd on Sunday. And the last time we met was morning. We went to La Carles Hotel. We went for a breakfast, and we drive down and we drive back, and we got back to Jolly Harbor, I think around midday. And I told him because he knew I'm leaving, and I told him I'm going to Antigua, after maybe Barbuda and back to Europe. So I told him that ready and go to the airport. And he was all day and the week before and the last few days as well. He wanted to keep convincing me to stay in Antigua. So he even made a joke that when we were leaving the hotel on that day after this breakfast, he was telling that he still can't believe, and he's so disappointed with me why I'm leaving, and I'm so difficult to convince. And then he also told me that anyway, I might see you in Dominica, and then he was laughing. And I thought that he was joking about it. He told me that the next time I'm coming back, he's definitely by that time he's gonna buy a yacht that he looked for. That he told me that he has like a nice big villa in Cuba, and he's gonna buy a yacht, and we can go there. So actually that was the plan for June or July, that I might visit there. And then after that, I'm hearing the news that he was maybe following me to Dominica, or different news that I was driving with him, or he came to my apartment. Yeah. So I haven't gone with him to. I'm not his girlfriend, and I told him I will be leaving. And I know that he had a right-hand person in Antigua as well. He always had those, he had a really close right-hand person. He was having conversations. I don't think it was like himself, but I think there is a chance that, someone maybe helped him. And then when everything, fall apart, I was the person, that they knew I'm a tourist. I'm in the area, and they can probably, I don't know if it was himself or the lawyer or his trusty right-hand guy came up with the idea to get me involved in this story.
Well, one by one, Barbara Jarabica, if she can be believed, then she has demolished Mehul Choksi's stories about a honey trap, about his abduction, about the fact that it was Barbara Jarabica who had taken him to Dominica. And in fact, she even unveils that his plans for running away to Cuba via Dominica was made much earlier, and he had decided to do that sometime in July or August. Why did he prepone it? Several unanswered questions. But take a look at the screenshot of Barbara's chats, WhatsApp chats with Mehul Choksi, where he actually gives his name as Raj. And those are the chats that really don't show that it was Mehul Choksi who was being waylaid by Barbara. In fact, it seemed the other way around, that he was trying to impress her and was trying to woo her. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings me to the legitimate question straight here on the News Hour tonight. Is the abduction theory completely fallen flat now? Can Choksi evade Indian law at this moment? That's the question, and that's the big debate coming in on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And I'm joined by Nikunj Garg, internal security editor, joining me live on the News Hour tonight. And also joining me tonight is Ian Hughes. He's joining me live from Jolly in Dominica. First to you, Nikunj. Bail has been denied to Mehul Choksi. The hearing has been adjourned to Friday. That's what we have from Dominica. But clearly, the revelations made by Barbara right here on that phone call with Times Now's Madhav Das Gopalakrishnan and Siddhant Mishra show that it wasn't really her who was setting the honey trap. It was almost as if Mehul Choksi was using her as an alibi and was wooing her, even gifting her jewelry, proposing to do business avenues with her, exploring those, giving her hotel as well as travel vouchers. Where do you think Barbara's theories actually blow the lid off Mehul Choksi's lies?
Well, Navika, on the face of it, Miss Barbara's commentary looks far much more trustworthy than Mr. Mehul Choksi's. And the fact is that after quite a lengthy hearing in Dominican courts also, Mr. Choksi has nearly failed to convince the court to even grant him bail. He continues to be lodged in a hospital. Now, that's only because there are certain injury marks on his body. We do not know how those injury marks, he has received those injury marks or got those injuries. There can be multiple reasons behind that. But nonetheless, another important aspect that is coming to the fore today for the first time, Navika, is that Mr. Mehul Choksi himself is claiming through his affidavit and his wife that there were people who have been monitoring his movement in the Antiguan island for close to 1 year. Now, this lends further credence to the fact that Mr. Choksi, after having gotten the wind of the fact that he was being monitored, a wanted fugitive of the law that he is already from India, tried to make good his escape and was wanting to make Miss Barbara a partner in that escape plan. And that was a plan that he was trying to hatch, which went awfully wrong, and he landed in Dominican islands, somehow not in very well safe conditions, and was arrested by the Dominican police, as is being claimed by the Indian prosecution. So in his own affidavit, Mr. Choksi somehow seems to be now getting exposed and getting caught in his own web of lies, because the fact is that if his movement was being monitored and he was becoming aware of the fact that there were individuals keeping an eye on him, then there is quite clearly is also a possibility, which Miss Barbara in her testimonial or in her commentary to our channel sort of bolsters and backs by saying that he did mention to her at some point in time that he was trying to move to Cuba and he had very lovely material comforts there. Not one yacht, but other material comforts also, and she should accompany him to Cuba. So quite clearly there are things that are adding up, and once Miss Barbara has chosen to come on record, quite clearly she is not afraid of the charges being leveled by Mrs. Choksi and Mr. Choksi's lawyers in a courtroom. She's out there, she's facing them on her chin, which quite clearly means
absolutely.
that
And will she actually cooperate with the investigators in Dominica as well as in Antigua? That's the big question. Let me get in Ian. Ian, any news of the Dominica police looking at questioning Ms. Barbara Jarabica, who's come out on record and busted the theories that were put out by Mehul Choksi?
Good day to you guys. Again, I am in Antigua. Actually, I'm at Jolly Harbor where Mehul Choksi resided for the past 3 years. If you look by, it's a gated community here in Antigua and Barbuda. And the Antigua police have issued a report from Mehul Choksi and a report that was done by their investigation. The thing is here in Antigua and Barbuda, whether or not Mehul Choksi was kidnapped and taken to Dominica or not, the mood here is that he is in the court system, and the word is he should be allowed to exhaust that court system rather than to be taken to Dominica. Or if he did go to Dominica, there should be intensive and extensive investigation to ensure that we get to the bottom of this issue, to the truth. What we need is the truth. We don't need speculations. We don't need people saying that we don't need secondhand information. We need an independent investigation into these allegations. We know the police in Antigua and Barbuda were accused. They should not be the ones to make the investigation.
Well said, Ian. What a beautiful harbor there in Antigua. And I'm not surprised that both Barbara and Mehul Choksi were enjoying the locales of Antigua. And also planned, Mr. Mehul Choksi also planned to take a trip to Dominica. Why did it go sour? We'll ask his lawyers who've defended him over the last several years. Thank you, Ian and Nikunj, for joining me on the News Hour. And going across to my panel this evening, joining me tonight is Mr. Aryama Sundaram, Senior Counsel. We really respect his views on cases of this kind because he's known to give bare-bone, very forensic analysis of the cases as they exist. Also joining me tonight is Sanjay Hegde, Senior Counsel in the Supreme Court, Vijay Agarwal, who has been fighting and defending Mr. Mehul Choksi in his Indian cases. And in just a bit from now, Alex Bruno, political consultant, will be joining us from Dominica. First to you, Mr. Aryama Sundaram. Mr. Aryama Sundaram, there are 3 or 4 major defenses that Mr. Mehul Choksi had pointed out when he was arrested in Dominica. Number one, that he had been abducted. That theory has been busted in this phone conversation with Barbara, who says, she knows him and there are message exchanges between them, but she doesn't say that they had dinner together. What she said is she met him on May 23rd morning around breakfast. Secondly, she's in Europe. She didn't go to Dominica. Then how is she being seen as somebody who abducted? And if the abduction theory falls flat, Mr. Aryama Sundaram, do you think the major defense of Mr. Mehul Choksi falls flat, even though there are some unanswered questions about the assault marks on his body?
Well, Navika, let's just understand it practically. Number one, Choksi is in the Antiguan courts on an attempt by India to have him extradited. We have an extradition treaty, and therefore extradition ought to be possible there. The only stumbling block in the way is that his citizenship of Antigua, which, however, now the Antiguan government itself is trying to revoke. In any way, even if he is a citizen of Antigua, if he has committed a crime which is a crime also in Antigua, which is also a crime in the country where he's a citizen, then he can be extradited to India. Therefore, he is facing the proceedings in Antigua. But Antigua in itself, it is going to take some time. Now, why should he go to Dominica? Now, this is $1 million question. If he should go to Dominica, it's out of fear that in Antigua, proceedings are such and the mood is such that he will be extradited to India. So he either was going to Dominica or Dominica en route somewhere else. Whatever it was, his entering Dominica illegally would have definitely meant him being extradited, sent out, deported, not extradited, but deported, and at least deported back to Antigua. So for one reason, it really suited him to come up with a story and an alibi that he had been brought into Dominica forcefully against his will, and then claim that he should not be deported from there to India, and this would be a good defense for him in any such proceedings. So I look at it two ways. One, either that he felt that Antigua was getting too hot for him and had to leave, and was therefore heading for Cuba or anywhere else, and Dominica was an en route manner of getting there. Or two, that he had planned this great alibi of going to Dominica, trying to put some more, hurdles in the way of getting his extradition. And to that extent, his great alibi, his great story of how he was brought physically into Dominica has taken a beating today. And it having been taken a beating, it's like, you come up with an alibi. And then your alibi turns around and says, look, it's not correct. It happens in many murder cases or other cases. The alibi was that I was with so-and-so. And that person turns around and says, what do you mean you were with me? You were not there at all. So the alibi falls flat. So this is definitely going to hurt him in the Dominica proceedings. And it is definitely going to affect his alibi there, because what he is facing there is also a charge that he entered illegally. His only defense for not entering illegally was on this very alibi, and whether he liked to do it or not, his whole alibi of being brought in physically involved this woman. And if it is false that this woman was with him, and if that alibi doesn't stand, then his whole case of being brought in illegally goes. In which case, Dominica will deport him straight away. The question is, will it send him to Antigua, where he last came from, or will it send him to India? And there India stands a fairly good chance, in view of Antigua's own stance, that they want to revoke his citizenship and rather he goes to India. So I must say today's this withdrawal of his alibi by the person who was his alibi is a big blow for him, and in a way is going to be a much stronger, is going to strengthen the government's case in trying to get him back to India.
Mr. Vijay Agarwal, the fact is that 23rd of May right up to the 8th of June, Mr. Mehul Choksi has not been able to get bail. He is, of course, in the Friendship Hospital, admitted there for the assault and the various kind of injuries that he has. But the fact of the matter is that his case and his pack of lies allegedly seems to be falling flat, because Barbara Jarabica, the woman he has exchanged allegedly those WhatsApp messages with, and those WhatsApp messages where he's pretending to be Raj, don't really leave too much to the imagination on who's honey trapping whom, or is he actually wooing Barbara? So I want to ask you, has the major defense of Mr. Mehul Choksi fallen flat with these statements from Barbara tonight?
It has further strengthened. Please see that my experience is that these coincidences, when there are too many coincidences happening, then one realizes that they are well orchestrated. So she surfaces on the day when the bail application in High Court is listed. She surfaces on the day when a complaint has been made in UK and the Scotland Yard takes up investigation against her and the people with her. Then it surfaces on the day next to the day when Mr. Mehul Choksi goes and makes the complaint. See, if a person is telling a pack of lies, will he like his lies to be investigated by the police agencies all across the globe? And see, it is another coincidence that all the persons, the men and the women on which Mr. Mehul Choksi is making allegations, all of them are residents of UK. So it is bird of same feather or flocking together. So please see that one can see through, and then let me set the record straight. She was never the alibi. Mr. Mehul Choksi never said that she accompanied him to Dominica. Rather, it was said against him that she accompanied, the top man of the country said that she accompanied him to, that he went out on a trip with a girlfriend to Dominica. Now she is very, very clearly telling on your channel that she did not go to Dominica with him. So it is very clear that these stories are being spun. And please, Navika, with respect, on your channel, it was being stated that the Mehul Choksi was trying to dump the documents and there are scuba divers who are jumping into the sea and pulling the documents out. So see, new stories are coming. Earlier, all channels were playing the story that Mr. Mehul Choksi wanted to go to Dominica and his trip went wrong. And now the lady says that, no, I did not go. Now they have a starting point. And let me tell you, on your channel, the name is wrong. So of course, she is giving interviews, but her name is wrong. Nobody knows where she is. So now it is her defense that she is trying to put up, that she will be investigating. So she's taking the shelter of the media now.
Mr. Vijay Agarwal, you are the lawyer here. I'm not. So I'll get on the legal points, Mr. Sanjay Hegde also to come in. But I just want to point out one issue. You said these are a series of coincidences that clearly show that it was a well laid out plan. But the coincidences are not on one side, they are on the other side as well. And that's the question I want to ask you, Mr. Sanjay Hegde. The coincidence is of the fact that Mr. Mehul Choksi speaks to Barbara about Cuba and Dominica, and that he's planning on a yacht to go there in the month of July or August. Mr. Mehul Choksi calls himself Raj and has those exchanges of WhatsApp which are certainly don't appear to be a lie. Of course, I'm not the investigation authority, so I don't hold a brief for either side. But I want to ask you, Mr. Sanjay Hegde, the fact that he said he was abducted and the fact that he has not been able to secure a bail till date, number one, raises questions about how solid his case is, and number two, the coincidences of UK citizens that seems to come in, and the coincidence that we revealed on the Newshour yesterday that the Indian government is also now using the legal prowess of Mr. Harish Salve, former Solicitor General and now a barrister in UK. Are these coincidences, or are these a well thought out strategy by both sides, which is being countered by the Indian government as well?
Well, I don't see any great strategy on either side. If this man was hiding from the Indian authorities, or rather he was defending his Antiguan citizenship, he should have, no matter what the provocation, gone after some lady to Dominica or wherever else he thought that she was. Now, in Dominica, let's be careful about the two cases that are there. One is the Dominican prosecution for him for entering the country illegally. There, it is his alibi that he was honey trapped. He was brought there illegally by certain people who kidnapped him and brought him to Dominica. In that context, whether he would be able to produce a witness like Barbara, I don't know. If he doesn't produce her as a witness, who else will produce her? Would the Dominican authorities produce her as a witness before the Dominican court? That again remains to be seen. I don't know where you have got her interview. She must be somewhere in Europe. Will she cooperate with the Dominican authorities insofar as those proceedings are concerned? The second proceeding is a proceeding filed by Mehul Choksi himself, saying that asking for a writ of habeas corpus and saying that since his detention is illegal, he should be set free. Those proceedings are largely do not require extensive evidence. They often operate on the basis of affidavits. And the Dominican authorities may well say, look, we have arrested him. And that is the answer to a habeas corpus petition. Let's assume that he is convicted for illegally entering Dominica. He might suffer a fine, he might suffer imprisonment. After that, what? As Aryama said, will he be sent back to Antigua or will he be sent back to India? there is still a proceeding in Antigua where the Antiguan government has gone to its own court saying now we want to revoke the citizenship which we gave him under false pretenses. He basically acquired a citizenship as a high net worth investor. He concealed from the Antiguan authorities the fact that there were criminal proceedings in India. They thought they were giving citizenship to some big businessman. They have ended up giving citizenship to a big time crook. But irrespective of the basis on which they gave him citizenship, the stripping of citizenship is a technical and legal problem which the Antiguan authorities hope to render moot.
I'm not at all underestimating the legal hurdles, Mr. Sanjay Hegde. I'm not underestimating the legal hurdles. Yes, there is a citizenship issue of Antigua. Yes, the Indian government has to prove that he has lied. And that is possibly one part of the defense, as we heard from Mr. Harish Salve, in terms of the information that he gave at the time of his, citizenship in Antigua. Also, on the illegal entry into Dominica, I'm not trying to minimize the legal hurdles, but there is one fact that I want to come back to Mr. Aryama Sundaram on, which is Barbara's statement where she says, she contradicts Mehul Choksi, who said, upon her request, I reached her house at around 5:15 p.m. She invited me in and said she wanted to finish her wine. 8 to 10 heavily armed men restrained me at Barbara's residence. Barbara's conduct shows she was she had a plan of kidnapping me. And that story, Aryama Sundaram, today busted by the lady herself.
In fact, that goes to the root of the matter, Navika. It goes to the root of the matter because his whole claim, his whole alibi, is that he went to her house at 5:30, and when he went to her house at that time, he was overpowered, brutalized, and kidnapped, abducted. However, she says, no, she did not meet him that evening, but met him in the morning. Now, the fact is, a lot turns on that. If it is shown and if it is proved that he did meet her in the morning, then his whole alibi goes. His alibi is destroyed because his alibi rests on having met her at 5:30 in the evening. So I think of everything that she has said. She has given a long interview. But I think of every single thing she has said, the most important thing is that she did not meet him on 23rd evening at 5:30, but met him on the 23rd morning for breakfast. Now, if it is shown, and if it is established by other evidence, that is the hotel where they meant to have breakfast, etc., that they did have breakfast on the 23rd morning, then his whole alibi, which says that he only met her at 5:30 in the evening, takes a serious blow, and his alibi is gone. So I think the most important thing of what she said
absolutely, and that is where this case begins to turn. That is where this case begins to turn. I need to get in Alex Bruno joining us from Dominica. Alex Bruno, we know there has been a political face-off going on in Dominica on this case, at least on the first day of the matter going to courts. How is the situation looking now? Hearing today postponed, now adjourned till Friday. No bail yet for Mr. Mehul Choksi. What's your bet on? Is he going to be deported to India, or will he be sent back to Antigua?
I still believe, based on the proceedings today and what I projected earlier, that Mr. Choksi will be sent to India from Dominica. That's how it is shaping up. Again, I continue to meander around the issues, the drama with the he say, she say. All of these are semantics in what I think is going to be the actual outcome. And today's development suggests that even more than ever before, that the next port of entry for Mr. Choksi would be one of the Indian ports somewhere. And I think that is going to happen sooner rather than later. I've been saying this. I've been very consistent with that. I'm not too sure I can comment too much on the Barbara story and everything that happens. I'm not too sure if I can believe exactly everything the prosecution says. But the fact is, I believe the case is being made for the deportation of this gentleman to India, because Antigua is not going to be the port of entry when he leaves Dominica. That's my view.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me on the News Hour tonight. The jury is out on when Mehul Choksi is coming in. Should we be optimistic, as pointed out Mr. Harish Salve right here on this show yesterday, where he said it's a matter of weeks, not months? Or could it be earlier? Will Barbara, who was first unveiled here on Times Now on the 27th of May, and her first interview coming on to Times Now, will her story today be the fall of Mehul Choksi and his alibi? We'll wait for developments in the courts and we'll keep you apprised, because this could be the big catch after Nirav Modi, who is still in jail. If India manages to get Mehul Choksi, it will be some time that payback will happen to the Indian taxpayers. Thank you very much, gentlemen.